Hey, my name is Matt Inkfer. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Covey, the self-storage platform that makes growth simple. Today on our podcast, Students of Storage, we're joined by Melissa Stiles, the CMO of Storage Asset Management in York, Pennsylvania. We dive into her story, the company's growth in her time there, and really dig into what makes a marketing team, what makes a great marketing employee, and then where marketing is headed. We touch on SEO, we touch on the growth that she's looking forward to at SAM, and much more. All right. Hey, Melissa, thanks for hopping on.
Hey, Matt, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah? Are you in Pennsylvania today?
Yes, Pennsylvania.
At home at the office, right? Before we get started on today's Students of Storage, I'd love to just hear a quick blurb about you, your position, your name, and then we'll dive into your career and go from there. Does that sound good?
Yeah, sure. So Melissa Stiles, Chief Marketing Officer with Storage Asset Management. And currently part of that, I oversee the marketing, revenue management, business development, and transitions and communications departments.
Awesome. And Storage Asset Management is one of the largest third-party managers in the country for self-storage. You're overseeing like facility marketing and driving move-ins and all the things that go along with that, the revenue management you mentioned, and then also business development. So that means like signing new clients,
Yes.
And that's a whole nother part of your job, right?
Right. So you have the B2B and the B2C then with the
Okay.
facilities and with SAM. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So much to dive in there. It's a big job, a lot to do. Let's start, but before we get there, with kind of your journey. I've heard you tell this story in different forms and in other podcasts and things like that. But tell us how your career evolved and how you ended up at SAM.
Yeah, so right after undergrad college, I went to work for the World Trade Center of Harrisburg. To work there for 6 years, helping companies within the South Central Pennsylvania area with exporting, importing foreign direct investment. Was there, and it was just me and the director, and she wanted me to step out and find more opportunities. So went to work for a client for a year. Just wasn't a great fit, and then answered a blind ad for a marketing manager position. Turned out it was with Storage Asset Management. I met Jay and Alyssa and really, really liked them and I saw some opportunity within their marketing, both on both sides, B2B and B2C, and thought it would be a fun opportunity if I just went into storage because I never even rented a unit. I could do it for a year, make an impact, and then maybe look at going back to international. But I've now been with Sam for 11 and a half years, so it's been fun.
Awesome. Congrats. What year did you join SAM?
2014.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, sorry. At that point, we had 32 stores under management at that point.
Okay, got it. And what did you walk into? Describe it. What was it like at SAM at that point and picking up your job?
Yeah, it was interesting. There was still like a couple facilities still had Yellow Pages ads, and I didn't know what Yellow Pages were. Websites were very, very basic, showing price, maybe a bill pay option, some form of a reservation that was more of like a contact form. So very, very basic. They were doing well and fine, but definitely saw some opportunities to make that more of a better digital experience too.
And were you the first marketing hire?
I was not.
No. So who else was there when you got there?
Well, there were two people before me, and I replaced one of them.
Okay, got
So
it.
definitely, so it was me. I was the only person doing marketing though when I was hired.
Okay, so 32 stores at that point that you were responsible for essentially filling up.
Mm-hmm.
Today, how many stores does Sam manage?
Roughly 600.
Okay, so pretty exponential growth. Has it been pretty linear between that 2014 start date and now, like just more and more all the time, or has it come in spurts?
I would say, it like maybe 2014, 2000 to 16, 17. It was smaller growth. Then we saw it start to pick up as we started to really get a lot of good systems in place and really comfortable with our management platform. And then as we were working with clients, they were able to then purchase more facilities too. So we were able to grow with our clients too.
Okay, cool. And how has your team grown in that time?
Yeah.
You were a marketing manager. You've been promoted a number of times, obviously. Explain that story to me.
Yeah, so I think when we got to maybe 55 stores, I hired a second person. And really I had them focus on graphic. I'm very comfortable in the digital realm, but the print graphic is not as natural to me. So we're able to hire just someone in that print graphic role. And then from there just started to build a team. And we built this and good or bad, we build it in niches. So we have someone on our team that is specialized in website content, someone who's specialized in Google paid ads, someone who's specialized in social, and so on and so on. And so we've grown that team now. I have a director of marketing. He oversees that team. Mandeep, he's great. And we now have in this past year have hired almost like 3 account managers. So 3 people that are responsible for the different regions of the country, and they're overseeing that marketing. So they go back to the person that's specializing in the FBO, the person specializing in paid ads, and communicating what's going on with the market and what the stores need in that market. So really that team is set up like a traditional marketing agency now.
Okay, fascinating. So these regional heads are kind of ultimately responsible for the performance of the marketing that they're on these stores in the region that they
Right.
manage. And they deploy your content folks, your paid ads folks, your social folks, and kind of like corral those resources and point them at where they need to be pointed at, focus on what they need to focus on. Okay. So content, paid ads, social, you said et cetera, but I'm not gonna let you
So
off the hook. What else? What else is there?
yeah, no, we still have like a local marketing team too that concentrates on helping with if there's events with the store, helping them make those contacts within the community. There's a still print, there's still signage that used to be had. So there are concentrations on that and flyers if they need something. We do really still believe in the local marketing. It's changed as storage has changed. We focused a lot on apartments, realtors, those type of things. When moving's not happening, we're now concentrating on other places within the community, whether it's the organization, the renovation teams at different hardware stores or in the community. So our focus on local marketing, maybe those contacts have changed, but we're still 100% behind and think that local marketing helps to get the brand awareness out in the community.
Cool. So I want to talk about the B2B side and the that in a minute, but you said content, paid ads, social, local marketing, print. How many people are involved in that part of the organization for you?
So that local marketing team has 4.5
Okay.
people on it. And so, yeah, so I mean, the one, so Jared oversees that. He's actually the one that onboards every single store within SAM to the marketing team. And then he oversees the local and print team.
Okay. So total local, print, social, paid ad. How big is your marketing team?
17.
17 people. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you've had your share of hiring,
Mm-hmm.
managing, I'm sure firing, the whole gamut, a team that delivers great results in self-storage marketing. What are the themes that you're looking for when you're hiring anyone on that team?
Yeah. And I think anyone within any position too, like first is like be a problem solver and be curious. So those 2 things are sort of characteristics that are harder to teach. Like I can teach someone SEO, right? And like where the SEO resources are and those kind of things. But if they're not curious and want to be the problem solver and really want to understand that, that's a little bit harder to teach. So those are the 2 main qualities that I always look for.
Okay. And if like, I think for a lot of the listeners, they're not building 17-person marketing
Yeah.
teams, but they're probably focused a lot on SEO, a lot on website. maybe a little bit of paid. What are the skill sets or what are the trick questions you might ask to kind of separate qualified candidates from unqualified candidates? And what are you looking for in hiring someone who might have a little bit more of a analytical set of responsibilities?
Yeah, so I think understanding what KPIs they look at. So how do they define success, right? Is it they only are looking at, number of users, which is a great KPI, but then are they able to dig into that and understand the trend of that KPI and why did it, fluctuate or decrease? So not only knowing the KPIs, but understanding them and what those indicate, I think is probably the biggest one too.
Okay. Awesome. Let's nerd out for a second on this particular topic. Pick a store or a region or just something that comes to mind and help me deconstruct the story of how, you achieve. Give me a case study, basically.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of dig into exactly what you did in that example and bring some of these concepts to life.
Yeah. So if one of our clients acquire a facility within a market, first is we're looking at the brand. So we have a national brand. It has 300 facilities on it. So in some markets,
Storage Sense, I think, right?
right. And
Cool.
so in some markets, and in most cases, urban markets, it makes sense to bring in that Storage Sense brand. It has that authority already on within domain. It has the Google seller ratings. And so, or if it's a very maybe tertiary market and that brand is already doing well, then we decide to keep that brand. So either way, under our management, that's probably one of the first things that we'll look at is what's the brand. Then we're starting to do the research. How do people find storage within that community? So even though it might be called, like the city might be York, Pennsylvania, maybe that little place is called Red Lion or something like that. So really understanding how people would find this area and what they would search for, building the website, building the ads and the content all around those and that research, looking and then doing a hard look. So whoever's doing the due diligence, our marketing team gets on a FaceTime call with them and looks at all of the signage and understands what signage is there, what needs replaced, what is really going to give the best customer experience. And then going from there, to local marketing, what are the good businesses that they should partner with? So our local team provides that to the store. And then really working through the different pieces. So reputation's very important to us, getting reviews. So making sure that we go back through, and if it's an existing location, we go back through, we answer them and say that we're a new management company now. Hopefully you'll give us another chance, especially the negative reviews. We'll answer them from the last year. And then start to build that program out of requesting new reviews. Very, very heavy on content and the SEO aspect. So making sure that on the back end of our website, all of the tags, everything is driving traffic within that community to that location page.
Okay, cool. So you've run this playbook across, 600 stores at this point. Help me understand the upper bound and the lower bound of what's possible. Like, tell me your best marketing story. What's your fastest lease up? Yeah. What's your, that kind of thing, just so the folks listening have an understanding for what's possible.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of out of the box ideas, right? So like having, a big splash within the community. So making sure your signage, is correct, or if you have a really big marketing budget, you can host like food trucks at your facility. The point is to get traffic there. So foot traffic, host something like that where it's big and maybe you pay, $500 and you have a ice cream truck for the community or something like that there at the facility. And then online, really, it's, understanding the market and looking at what will get you to rank rank first the fastest. So it might be that you need to spend more on Google Ads to begin with, if it's already a market that has a heavy presence. So it's really I would say driving foot traffic and driving the digital traffic. And then you can do so many out of the box things. We've done billboards. Those still work in some communities. We've done guerrilla marketing campaigns, just putting the flyers out in the community. Online, we work with, we'll look for an influencer in a market. And so if there is someone that's big on TikTok or someone big on Instagram, partnering with them and having them go to the facility and show the facility in that way as well.
Cool. And what's an example of like a facility or two or market or two that you've seen this just like produce outstanding results in?
Yeah. So like the Virginia Beach market, we have some locations there that have done well with like an influencer, have done really well with like big campaigns for a lease up. We've had even some here in Pennsylvania as well. And really if we have the spend and being able to do it to make the splash, then it is easier to get that brand awareness. And I will say, oh, sorry, we're talking, I know we're just about marketing, but it really, also having a great competitive special. So doing something fun out of the box. If like the first, we just did it at a facility where the first 50 renters get to be entered for a whole year of storage for free. And so doing those kind of things where we got the idea from like fast food restaurants when they open up, you see that line around the block because they get, McDonald's for a year or whatever that is. So trying to replicate that excitement and get people in the door that way.
Cool. So let's say that you get a brand new construction facility. Is there like a general rule of thumb for like, reaching stabilization and what you think is good, great, and mediocre? Like if you lease up to stabilized 85% occupancy, whatever the target you might set is in 10 months, is that a really good lease up? Or
you can do that.
Is that how you think about it? Like,
yeah, we think about it. I think stabilization right now is probably in year 3 to 4.
Yep.
And so looking at that and the projections for, the projections kind of reflect that. You can do it in 10 months. That's amazing.
You just, it's obviously a lot of people think they can, right? And then they build something and it turns out to be a 3-year process. Makes sense. Okay, cool. What about, okay, so let's stick on kind of the nerdy stuff, the SEO. I've heard you on other podcasts and just running into you at trade shows and things like that, talking a lot about AI. When you're sitting down to actually lease up a facility or drive some rentals with your team and you're thinking about SEO, you're thinking about content, you're thinking about social, whatever's going on, how is AI entering that conversation and how's it changing things from like a tactical perspective for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I would say even in like, this has been a fast shift within the last 3 to 4 months of we've seen, Google release their AI modes and their overviews, more uses of ChatGPT. So it becomes more about visibility. And so what that means for us is we're looking at more of the traditional long tail keywords. So AI tends to be more towards like a voice search rather than like a typing search because you're asking it, what I need storage in Brooklyn, New York. And you're like, okay, they give you an overview and you're like, okay, but what's closest to X, Y, and Z, or what's the cheapest? So it starts to become more of a conversation than an actual search. And Google is acting more like the web than the tool to get to where you're going. So even in late last year in the fall, we started adding some of like our prices in our SEO tags too. So starting at $10. So it was more so people are not clicking through to the website and want all of the information there, but it also lends well to the AI as well as picking up like those keywords. So we're looking at a lot regarding those and how people search is more conversational. So what does that mean for our long tail keywords? Making sure that we have the right content, making sure that we have more like how-to guides, like how to choose the right storage unit for you and those informative pieces on our website.
Interesting. It sounds similar to search from what
Yeah.
I'm hearing. Like a lot of focus on the back end, the metadata, and then some really useful how-to content is going to reward you
Yeah.
in using in these LLMs.
Yeah, I think, so content, they've always said content is king. I think, that hasn't changed. It's just the way that we look at content. We were really, and you'll see this, some are really focused on like, I call it keyword stuffing, where like they're like storage Brooklyn, New York, storage Brooklyn, New York, storage Brooklyn, New York. I think you're now starting to see that content expand and have those like long tail keywords. So it's more like most affordable storage or, storage near such and such in Brooklyn, New York. So those are expanding, I think, as well.
Cool. I want to talk a little bit about scale and the advantages it can bring.
Yeah.
Let's start at the local market level. Storage Sense might have 5 or 6 or 7 stores in a market, right? What advantage does that bring you over having a single store in a market?
Yeah. So, I mean, locally, you have that brand awareness, right? You're driving by, you see storage senses, and then when you go to make your search, you probably have driven by one in the community just with the volume there. But then when you look at search, you have 5 locations that are at least sending 5 signals to Google that you are the storage in that area. Um, so it helps with driving traffic digitally as well because you're able to have that space. So you have 5 Google business listing, their business profile listings then too, um, versus, one of another brand. So just it takes up more real estate space then as well.
Do you have a way to quantify the impact of that, or is there a tipping point at which you start to see the impact, depending on like how many stores per capita or anything like that you're able to pin down so
Yeah.
that you can kind of forecast when to expect a lift?
That's interesting. So we don't. And honestly, it's because every community is so different, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we go into a market and we have one storage sense and the rest are, a non-REIT, we're going to do very well there. But if we go in with one storage sense and there's like 5 REITs, it really depends on the competition, who's there. So
Mm-hmm.
I wish there was a magic number for that. But it's so specific and based upon with the competition there, what that community looks like.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think it offers a little hope to operators who are hoping to compete. Like, we have some operators who have 10, 15 facilities in in their hometown, and they just know that market and they're able to take advantage of that kind of homegrown knowledge and compete with, a REIT who might throw one store up in town or something like that. Cool. So, what about the rest of the data that you're looking at? How are you consuming it? And at what point do you have enough data to make it really useful beyond just like looking at management summary reports for a single facility or 2 facilities or 5 facilities? How do you manage your data?
Yeah. So it's interesting and looking at the management summary gives you a really good indication of operations. But tying it together with like your website data is key. So one of the things that we started doing that's been interesting is being able to predict how many website users that we need to hit the rental goals. So that really gives the marketing team targets for each facility of how much traffic we need to that website. So working backwards from this is how many rentals the store needs, and the industry has always been good at that and setting that goal. But then working backwards to get the marketing team, this is how many website users you need. And then like the revenue management team, this is how many of those website users have to convert to leads to achieve that. And then we're able to predict spend and have just a better handle of what we need to get to that facility, that number.
Okay, cool. Very interesting. A lot happens in the moment from that initial point of traffic hitting your website. You mentioned revenue management, converting to a lead, maybe following up, phone calls. There's a whole ocean of activity that's taking place there. Backing into those targets of how many people you want on your website, I imagine that you have some sort of funnel or series of funnels. Can you break down the components that you're looking at for us?
Yeah, so to get to that number in a regression model, looking at the close rate, obviously. So at the most basic, you can take this is how many rentals I need divided by the close rate, and this is how many leads I need, right? But then how many website users you need to convert, that's a little bit more. So that's, taking your unique visitors, um, and a lot of it's some of it's spend too. So you can look at like what your spend was and what your click-through rates were from Google and adjusting those in like a regression model to figure that out.
Cool. And then, you're a pretty classically trained marketer. I think I could be wrong here, but it sounds like you probably learned revenue management on the job. These are so tightly coupled, right? And they're so incredibly important together. How do you differentiate? Is there a science to it that you can pin down, or how do you evaluate the success of your revenue management as part of the marketing funnel for you?
Yeah, I think it's that like the leads number, right, is really telling of how they're doing. And it really, when you look at marketing, and one of the reasons we moved revenue management, marketing and revenue management are looking at the same data. So they are the top of the funnel and need to get so many leads to the stores or to the website, to the call center to be able to close. So that data is so closely aligned, and then you can then start to understand where in the funnel. So is it a leads problem or is it a pricing problem? So conversions on a website and you have the same or more traffic, but you're not converting, lends well to telling me that it's maybe a pricing problem then.
Awesome. That's amazing. Thank you so much for this. I'll close with one question, unless you have questions for me. But what's your favorite part of the job, having done it for 11 plus years now?
Yeah.
What makes you proud?
Yeah, I think it's the impact, right? Is like I've never set out to be like a CMO. I just wanted to make an impact. Like my first, couple days within Sam, I saw that like, hey, if we just change our website a little bit to reflect who we are, what will that look like? So just the impact, and being able to like hire these teams, build these teams up and see them grow. Like Mandeep, our director of marketing, he's been with us for almost 6 years. He started as the paid media specialist, and so able to mentor and grow, different people throughout the company has been one of my favorite. Also, if you like are in the storage industry, the storage industry is just great overall, and I've made some of my best friends now within the industry too.
Totally. I knew you would say that. I knew you'd say that part.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. And then I'll ask you one more question. You mentioned kind of, your business development efforts there. What do you see as, what's enabled Sam to win new business from net new clients that you think is special and different?
I think it's really our reputation, and that everyone at SAM is really concentrated on upholding our reputation, doing the best that we can for every client. We don't own any of the facilities, which makes us truly unique. And so everything we do is really what's best for that facility and for that client, and being able to, at scale, continue to do that has been probably the most special piece.
Cool. Where are you headed? What's next for Sam 5 years from now? Are you going to have 1,800 stores? What's the plan?
Our plan is just to continue to grow. We with our clients, with new clients where it makes sense, and continue to uphold our reputation, and really that's what we want to do. What's our mission is doing what's best for the facilities, and having that reputation within the industry as being the best at that is what we set out to do, not be at a certain number of facilities.
Cool. Thank you so much for hopping on. I really appreciate it. Fascinating story, and it seems like you've built like your reputation obviously precedes you. You have so many great friends in the industry. Everyone says such amazing things about you, but it feels like you built like a pretty awesome culture at Sam. And it's a pleasure to have you on and learn from you.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you for those kind words.
Thank you for listening to Students of Storage. Links to any resources mentioned in the episode can be found in the show notes. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a 5-star review and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Thanks and have a good one.